Okay, ready? Go. Okay. Hello everybody and welcome to the video. So right now in front of me we have a new Chinese motorcycle. So you might ask me, what's that? This is a QJMOTOR SRK 600RR, and this bike is pretty nuts. So I've been riding this motorcycle for a week now and I can tell you a few things about it. First off, of course, I need to mention that it has an enormous, huge and loud 4-cylinder engine. So this one can make 88 horsepower, and taking that this engine is very heavy, it's not a very big achievement. On top of that, this bike has 56 Newton meters of torque. Performance wise, this bike is not very fast, it's not gaining speed fast enough, and this bike is very heavy. Talking about the weight, this bike is 213 kilograms. We're talking about carb weight. After double checking and triple checking, I found out that 213 kilograms is not the carb weight of the bike, but the dry weight of the bike, which means that the carb weight of the bike will be over 230 kilograms. And this thing over here is a gas tank which has 18 liters. So yeah, overall this bike is big, heavy, not maneuverable at all. I don't really like the performance of the bike, but look-wise, it looks pretty sporty. It is reminiscent of Pinaghelli if you look from the front. So over here we have headlights, winglets, and according to QJMOTOR, those winglets serve a great purpose in terms of the speed. So once you reach 150 kilometers per hour, those winglets create downforce, which is equivalent to 5 or 6 kilograms. I mean, top speed of this bike is 192 kilometers, so I feel like those winglets, even though they look cool, they're not very useful. To be honest, this bike has KYB non-adjustable inverted fork from the front, and it has an adjustable rear shock. Again, this bike feels a bit too rigid to me. So these are brakes of the bike. These are Brembo. The front and the rear wheel both have Brembo brakes, 320 millimeters as far as I recall. Of course they have ABS, but again, this bike is pretty heavy for those brakes. Again, I was riding for a week or so, and every time I go really fast and I stop rapidly, I do feel like those brakes could be a bit better. But yeah, overall, this bike has a very good first impression. Ergonomic wise, it has 790 millimeter seat height. Let me sit on it. Alright, so yeah, feels pretty alright when you're sitting like this, but once you're in the traffic, this seat becomes a bit too rigid for my liking. Again, once you ride with a passenger, most passengers do not like the rear seat as well. But the way it looks from the rider's position is pretty good, pretty dope. So over here you have 5 inches dash, keyless ignition. So this bike comes with keyless ignition, and there is another option which has a key, and that option has J1 brakes. Mode wise, this bike has 0 modes, so it permanently operates with 88 horsepower. Again, the throttle is very responsive. I like it very much. If we don't take into account the speed of the bike, because it's pretty slow. And even though you can hide behind the windshield, you can tuck yourself and you can open the throttle. Bike goes nowhere because it's pretty slow, pretty heavy. Again, this bike doesn't look bad, but it is reminiscent of Frankenstein because from the side the bike looks like BMW, from the front it looks like Ducati Panigale. Overall it gives me a feeling of Hayabusa. So yeah, what do you think about this bike? Let's keep on talking about other things. Gearbox. Gearbox is very smooth, but most of Chinese bikes recently make really nice gearboxes. But this bike doesn't have two important things: quick shifters up and down. So you have to use the lever, old style lever. Alright, so yeah, of course I'm joking, most people know how to use that thing. Ergonomic wise, again, I said that the seat height is 790 millimeters, but what about foot pegs? Let's see. Ba-ba-bum. Oh, wait a second, guys. Alright, so as you can see, my leg is bent. So it's not a very comfortable position, to be honest, if you're riding for more than 1 hour. And if you have some problem with your knees, watch another video of knees over toes, guys. Yeah, and probably don't buy this bike. If you ride sub-hour, I feel like it's still alright. I'm not a big fan of this bike. It's not maneuverable, it's not fast. You can see in the video acceleration. According to QJMOTOR, it goes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, and top speed of the bike is 194. Again, no quick shifter. It has ABS, no modes, 5-inch display. In my liking, in my opinion, this bike is not a bad bike, but not for me for sure. The engine is very smooth because it has 4 cylinders, but too heavy. Gearbox is very smooth, but taking that it doesn't go anywhere once you open the throttle, it's not something that I like. Again, 50,000 RMB, $7,000. If you would ask me, I would go with NK Bye-Bye, which is totally different bike. Alright, so this was my initial impression on the bike. I hope you like it, but I don't really like it. Hope you like this video, and let's keep on going. So let's see how fast it can go one more time. I'm riding with the passenger right now. Let's go. So this was the full throttle. I opened the throttle every single time on each gear, and it doesn't feel crazy. It feels pretty slow, to be honest. The sound is awesome though. If you're looking for a bike with a great sound but with a slower performance, maybe look no further. But most people, of course, they will feel a bit awkward riding a bike with a great sound but with a slow acceleration. This bike doesn't feel very fast, but again, it feels very stable. So if you are a beginner, if you're not afraid of a heavier bike, maybe this is a great option for you. Again, this bike is way too heavy for me. I prefer to split lines when I'm riding in the city. I don't like being stuck in the traffic, so this bike is way too heavy for me. This bike feels elite. It feels luxury. The feeling that you get out of the bike is really nice. All those clutch and brake levers feel really nice. The throttle is very responsive, and again, taking the sound that you get out of it is just awesome. This bike has no modes, so this bike feels luxury, elite, but it does have modes. It has that nice 5 inches TFT dash, which tells you how fast you go. It has Bluetooth connectivity, but other than that, it serves no purpose, of course. This bike has LED headlight and taillight. Those work really nice, really well. I feel like they are really top notch, better than the competition. 18-liter tank, really nice, pretty big. This bike gives me a feel of a sport touring bike, not a sport bike. So this bike has Brembo brakes. These brakes feel nice, but again, taking the heavy weight, these brakes might be a bit sharper, if you ask me. They do not give the best performance. So this is what you get out of this bike once you open the throttle. QJMOTOR claims that this bike does 0 to 60 in less, no, not in less, in 4 seconds flat. and the top speed is 192 kilometers, not miles. And I don't feel like it's enough for traffic in terms of acceleration, and don't feel like it's enough for highway in terms of top speed. So it's pretty hard to understand who's going to be really satisfied about this bike. Again, the bike feels so good, it feels so expensive, and the price of this bike is around $7,000. You get keyless ignition for the money, Brembo brakes. So again, if you're watching me from abroad, probably this bike would be way more expensive there. Here in China, many people buy it because the specs just awesome. Again, Brembo brakes, 4-cylinder engine, TFT dash, LED headlights and tail lights. No modes, this is the problem. But other than that, this bike is just awesome. But it doesn't give you that feeling that you need once you open the throttle. And one can argue that this bike is stable and this is all you need. So stability, it's pretty fast still. It's not a slow bike, don't get me wrong, but after those crazy naked bikes that I was reading, this bike feels really heavy and slow and not as maneuverable. So if you're looking for a nice looking bike which is reminiscent of Panigale, Ducati Panigale, look no further. But I always had that problem with things that look good but do not give you what you expect in terms of design. For example, this bike looks awesome. Design wise, it looks awesome. Performance wise, I would say that performance does not match the look. Talking about the feelings, this bike doesn't feel like a sport bike, it does feel like a sport touring bike. It gives me a feeling of a small displacement Hayabusa. Yeah, small displacement Hayabusa, this is how it feels. I don't know whether it makes any sense or not, but this is the way I feel. Wait a second. This bike is pretty slow, 600 cc, 88 horsepower, carb weight is 230 kilograms, so I don't really know whether I can compare this bike to Hayabusa. Of course I can't, but the position itself feels pretty much the same. To be honest guys, I don't really want to say that because I don't want to make my friend who gave me the bike feel bad, but sometimes when I ride in traffic I feel as if this bike is some sort of a burden to me, you know. I don't really want to ride this bike because I know that I'll face some traffic jams and I'll be stuck in the traffic as if I'm driving a car, because this bike just feels heavy. It feels good in terms of stability, but if you live somewhere where traffic is not bad, of course you can consider this bike.
Alright guys, so this was my humble opinion on the bike. Hope you liked the video. Hope it was useful. The new video is coming soon. Goodbye.